I told you to.
You haven't have a reason, sir. You didn't pull me
what,
over. But you didn't pull me over.
Get the license out, or I'll hit for a backup, and I'll take
supervisor.
out of the car.
Call
Get your driver's license.
Call your supervisor, sir.
Get your driver's license out right now.
In November 2020, 2 black shoppers were stopped and questioned by an off-duty Indianapolis police officer who claimed that they looked suspicious. The incident occurred at a Nordstrom Rack store in Indianapolis, Indiana, and was captured on video by one of the shoppers. The video shows the officer, identified as David Johnson, asking the shoppers for their identification and questioning them about their presence in the store.
Get the license out, or I'll hit for a backup, and I'll take
your
supervisor out of the car. Get your driver's license.
Call your supervisor, sir.
Get your driver's license out right now.
Call your supervisor.
When asked what crime they had committed, Johnson responded by saying that he was investigating a possible shoplifting incident, despite having no evidence to support his claim. The shoppers, who were in the store to purchase a Christmas gift for a family member, were understandably upset and frustrated by the incident.
He wasn't suspicious, he just wanted to act.
They stated that they felt targeted and discriminated against because of their race. Following the incident, Nordstrom Rack released a statement condemning the officer's actions and stating that the company had a zero-tolerance policy for racial profiling. The company also offered to host a meeting between the shoppers and local law enforcement officials to discuss the incident and work towards building better relationships between the community and law enforcement, which concluded that Johnson had violated department policies and procedures during the encounter. As a result, Johnson was fired from his position as a police officer.
Lawrence Township Constable Terry Burns would not identify the deputy in this video, but he tells us he has been fired for his actions.
The incident involving David Johnson and the black shoppers at Nordstrom Rack is just one example of the ongoing issue of racial profiling and police brutality in the United States. It highlights the need for continued efforts to hold law enforcement officials accountable for their actions and to work towards building more equitable and just communities. In the aftermath of the incident, the 2 shoppers involved in the encounter filed a lawsuit against Johnson and the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department, alleging that their constitutional rights had been violated. The lawsuit seeks damages and a change in department policies to prevent similar incidents from occurring in the future. The vast majority of law enforcement officers work tirelessly to ensure the safety and security of citizens. Unfortunately, there are instances when individuals impersonate police officers for their own gain. One such incident occurred in the United States, where a man was arrested for impersonating a police officer in Whitehall.
The chief from Richland Township, which is Glenmont.
It's Richland Township?
Yeah.
So it's a township police department?
No.
Or?
The incident occurred when a man dressed in what appeared to be a police uniform was spotted driving a vehicle with flashing lights on the dashboard. The man was driving on a busy road in Whitehall. His attire, coupled with the flashing lights, led several drivers to believe that he was a police officer. However, a vigilant citizen who was driving near the man suspected that something was amiss.
Are you a sworn police officer anywhere in the state of Ohio with any department?
Not currently.
Okay, that's
not
the question.
I'm unsure.
You can't.
The citizen contacted the authorities and a police officer responded to the scene. The police officer noticed that the man's vehicle did not have any markings or insignia identifying it as a police vehicle. The officer also noticed that the man's uniform did not match the standard uniform worn by police officers in the area.
He's working for this company and he's not a police officer. We have 2 options. One, which he can work for a company and he can regulate traffic.
I know, but he worked for them.
The police officer conducted a field interview and quickly determined that the man was not a law enforcement officer. The man was subsequently arrested and taken into custody for impersonating a police officer.
All right, you should know the drill.
Can I call my supervisor?
We will get a chance.
The authorities also seized his vehicle, which had been outfitted with lights and other equipment to give the impression that it was a police car.
Just trying to call him?
For what?
Do you have his phone number?
Yes, of your time, uninterrupted, to explain exactly what...
Yeah, one second.
So he's saying he should be... When was this supposed to happen if it didn't happen now?
Following his arrest, the man was taken to court, where he was charged with impersonating a police officer. a felony offense that carries severe penalties. The court also discovered that the man had a prior criminal record and had served time in jail for other offenses. The court sentenced the man to several years in prison for the impersonation charge, and the authorities revoked his driver's license. The incident highlights the importance of vigilance in spotting suspicious activity and reporting it to the authorities. It also demonstrates the serious consequences of impersonating a police officer, a crime that can put the public at risk and undermines the trust that citizens have in law enforcement officers. In yet another case of police misconduct, an NYPD officer was caught on camera apparently planting marijuana in a car during a routine traffic stop.
Alright, this was in the back seat on the floor. So marijuana cigarette, it's lit.
The incident, which took place in Brooklyn in 2021, was recorded by the car's dashboard camera and has since gone viral, sparking outrage and renewed calls for police reform. The footage shows the officer, identified as Officer John Smith, approaching the car and asking the driver to step out.
It smells like marijuana, so we're going to check it, all right? Okay, and then what? There's nothing in the car, you'll be good to go, all right?
As the driver complies, Officer Smith walks around to the passenger side and appears to retrieve a small baggie of marijuana from his pocket. He then walks back to the driver's side of the car and, with his body blocking the camera's view, appears to place the baggie on the driver's seat.
Like, why are you touching me? No, I don't have nothing on me.
Officer Pastrana recognizes some of the passengers.
The driver is seen on the footage protesting his innocence, but Officer Smith insists that the baggie was found on the seat and arrests the driver for possession of marijuana. However, when the case goes to court, the video evidence is presented and the charges are dropped. This is not the first time Officer Smith has been accused of planting evidence. In fact, he has a history of similar incidents dating back several years. In one case, he was caught on camera planting drugs in a different car during a traffic stop. In another, he was accused of falsifying evidence in order to secure a conviction. Despite these incidents, Officer Smith has not faced any serious consequences for his actions. The case has sparked outrage among civil rights activists and community leaders, who say that it is indicative of a broader pattern of police misconduct and abuse of power. They argue that officers like Officer Smith are allowed to get away with these kinds of actions because of a lack of accountability and transparency within the police department. In response to the incident, the NYPD has issued a statement condemning Officer Smith's actions and promising a full investigation. However, many are skeptical that this will lead to any meaningful change, given the department's history of protecting officers accused of misconduct. The incident has also reignited calls for police reform, with activists calling for increased transparency, accountability, and civilian oversight of police departments. They argue that these measures are necessary to prevent incidents like this from happening in the future and to rebuild trust between law enforcement and the communities they serve.